Okay, January 2016, great time of the year to be getting our thoughts and actions directed in such a way that we will be genuinely improving at the game. Remember, the overall strategy in the R3 approach is to continue enjoying the process of doing good work, developing our games to the point where they can be seen and felt to be mechanically sound, physically athletic, and tactically fluid processes for playing the game. I want to talk a little bit here about the A-frame in our golf swing. That's a perspective number 3 physical process where in our golf swings we should understand that it's how our bodies support the movement of the club from that mechanical perspective. That determines how well we are able to develop our shot making skill, right? Okay, well, when we talk about the A-frame in our golf swing, essentially we're talking about how our body's going to support the movements of the swing. Well, as far as defining or describing what that A-frame is, we can draw a couple lines in here from the face-on view in such a way that we'll set our body into this A-frame that's created from a face-on view. From downline view, it's interesting to go ahead and consider the A-frame to be this, where let's draw a swing plane in there where it's from the ball up through our elbow area, and then we'll put another line in from basically back around the back of my neck, which is essentially parallel to or right there close to my spine angle. Okay, so in this case the A-frame would be these lines, and the face-on view would be these lines. Okay, so that's our A-frame that we'll be talking about. Alright, now when we go from the ready position, which in the R3 approach, again, we describe the ready position as our grip, aim, and setup. We won't talk about that much at this point, but let's go ahead and look at what happens as far as our body goes relative to this A-frame. Okay, as we start the movement from the ready position to the set position, what we're doing is we're initiating the first pivot in the swing. First pivot in the swing, again, is just the rotation of our hips there into that right hip. Now we're doing so by rotating our shoulders early in the swing. We don't want to be lifting the club away from the ball as we initiate that first pivot in the swing. Now as we're doing that, as we're using our shoulders to take that club back, I want to draw a line in right here just outside of my right hip, and notice this: if we're effectively staying in that A-frame, there'll be no sway movement outside of that red line that I just drew in there. Again, so as we take that club back to the top of the swing with our shoulders, notice this too: as I initiate that backswing movement, I got a good healthy turn of my shoulders early in the swing. Notice how my right shoulder is kind of disappearing behind my head early in the swing. Well, that's indicating to me that I am in fact taking the club back with my shoulders, which is a good thing to be directing some thought toward. And again, as you're doing that, you're going to feel your first pivot into that right hip take place in such a way that you're not swaying outside of that red line. Now what's happening here is that we're effectively winding our body up from the ground up, from our feet up into our shoulders. We're turning our body essentially into a spring, where we're developing really good torque in our body as far as developing some potential power in the swing relative to those two pivot actions. Now when we get to the top of the swing, or the set point in the swing, what we want to know to be looking out for is how we're in fact setting the angle in the swing. And a couple of things that we want to be aware of is, as we set that angle up into the plane of the swing at the set point in the swing, we should turn around and look at that club face position. See that that club face position is in fact getting into a nice square position at the top of the swing. So important that we do direct some thought toward that aspect of the swing as far as our golf club goes, just to see that we are in fact developing a mechanically sound position up there at the top or the set point in the swing. Okay, now as we transition through that point in the swing, what we're anticipating happening would be that we'll be dropping this angle that we've formed between our arms and the shaft of the club into the plane of the swing on the downswing. Okay, so as we make that movement into the downswing, into that 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock impact zone down there, around waist high, right about this area of the swing, what we're anticipating happening as we move the angle through the swing path through this 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock impact zone down here at the bottom of the swing, we're going to be anticipating some good arm rotation, Again, here we've maintained some good lag as we enter that part of the swing. Very important there that we direct some thought toward that lag. And notice too here, I wanted to point this out. This is good to do. When we are setting up to the ball, if we have our weight distributed in a good athletic position, we're going to feel the mass of our body centered right there in the widest part of our feet, or the balls of our feet, it's often referred to as. What this does is it just gets us into a really good athletic position where we can, in fact, create that movement, that pivot action movement while creating resistance in the swing too. In other words, we're just staying centered. So what happens is the center of our swing becomes that area kind of in the center of our body right there, around which we're going to be pivoting as we make our golf swing. So it's interesting to see that when we draw that red line in, it intersects those two yellow lines in a position right there in the center of our body. That's the core of our body right there. That's the point around which we're going to be pivoting as we move that angle through the swing path and ultimately release that angle down through the bottom of the swing, or the 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock impact zone. Notice too here I've maintained or stayed in that A-frame as I've made those two pivots around that stable spine, which sees my head basically staying in that circle that we drew during the ready position in the swing. Okay, and then all important would be the anticipation down here through this 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock impact zone of good arm rotation, mechanical function in the swing. The good arm rotation takes place through impact. In other words, our arms are going to be rotating over in such a way that we do in fact release our arms effectively during the swing. Also in the R3 approach, when we talk about release action, we're releasing our body as well. In other words, we're creating that second pivot in the swing. Rotation of our body through impact, blended with the good rotation or release of our arms through impact, is essential in our golf swing. And also notice as we complete the swing, the club is moving through impact into the finish of the swing, again in plane. You can see it reappearing on the other side of the swing there where I've drawn that white line. You can see the club coming up. And also notice that essentially I've continued to maintain that spine angle right through to the completion of the swing. So again, the A-frame in our golf swing is what the physical perspective is all about, maintaining a good A-frame athletic position during the swing, creating two good pivots around a stable spine as we make these movements, and ultimately releasing both our arms and our body as we complete the action of the swing through to a good balanced finish is what we want to be really looking for in terms of developing a mechanically sound, physically athletic golf swing movement. Then, of course, remember, playing our best golf goes far beyond our golf swing. We want to be understanding that it's very important that we sharpen up those short game skills, scoring skills inside the red zone, and that ultimately we're doing everything in a tactically fluid manner, which means that, again, we're not overthinking everything that we're doing as we play golf. We're just enjoying the process of hitting good, solid golf shots and tactically working our way around the golf course, shooting the best score that we can. Okay, as we always say in the R3 approach, let's all continue doing good work and have fun working on our golf games. All right, do good work now.